The lights in the studio burned bright, casting a crisp glow across the polished glass desk. A giant screen behind it flickered with highlights of Cristiano Ronaldo's most recent match, a mix of dazzling goals and near misses. The anchor, Alex Ford, leaned forward, adjusting his sleek navy tie, a glint of anticipation in his eyes. Tonight's special guest was none other than Ronaldo himself, joining via live video from his home in Madrid. "Ladies and gentlemen," Alex began, his voice smooth as polished steel, "tonight we're joined by the man who needs no introduction, five-time Ballon d'Or winner, record breaker, global icon, but, and this is important, also the subject of growing debate after his latest performance for Portugal, Cristiano Ronaldo. Welcome." Cristiano appeared on the screen, seated casually yet composed, wearing a crisp white shirt, his hair perfectly styled, the hint of a smile at the corners of his mouth. "Thank you, Alex. It's good to be here." Alex wasted no time. He smirked, leaning in just enough to signal that this wasn't going to be a soft interview. "Cristiano, let's get straight to it. Many critics say you're past your prime, that Portugal's attack looks slower with you on the pitch, and that, frankly, your presence forces the team to revolve around you, limiting younger talent. How do you respond to those who say you're holding Portugal back?" There it was, the first blow. Viewers around the world leaned closer to their screens, sensing the tension. Ronaldo didn't blink. Instead, he tilted his head slightly, as if studying Alex, and then nodded slowly. "Interesting perspective, Alex," he began, his voice calm but with an unmistakable undertone of steel. "But let me ask you, how many World Cups have you played in? How many European Championship finals? How many records have you broken on the field, with defenders hanging onto your shirt, with entire stadiums waiting for you to fail?" Alex opened his mouth, but Ronaldo continued before he could answer, his tone sharpening just enough to command attention. "You see, it's easy to sit there, under bright studio lights, with replay clips and statistics on a screen, and talk about what athletes should or shouldn't do. But football, real football, isn't played with words. It's played with heart, with resilience, and with the kind of pressure most people can't even imagine handling." The tension thickened. Alex shifted in his seat, realizing this wasn't going as he had scripted in his mind. The producers in the control room watched wide-eyed, unsure whether to cut to commercial or let the fireworks unfold. "I respect critics," Ronaldo added, his gaze unwavering. "They have a job to do. But respect goes both ways. When people talk about slowing down, they should look at facts, not headlines. I was the top scorer in Serie A, the Premier League, La Liga. I've adapted and delivered in every league, every system, and if mentoring young talent while still performing at the highest level is a problem, then maybe that says more about the system than it does about me." Alex tried to regain control. "Cristiano, nobody denies your achievements, but surely even you must admit, pace declines, reflexes slow with age. Are you suggesting that you're immune to time?" Ronaldo allowed himself a small laugh, the kind that says, "I've heard this before." "Of course not. I'm human, but I train harder at 39 than I did at 25. I've evolved my game. You want to talk pace? Let's talk positioning. Let's talk intelligence on the pitch. Knowing where to be, when to move. That's what keeps me dangerous. I don't need to run faster than a 22-year-old winger. I need to think faster. And I do." The chat exploded online. Ronaldo responds started trending within minutes. Clips of the exchange flooded social media. Commentators who had tuned in expecting a standard interview were now glued to the screen. Alex's tone shifted, his attempt at an upper hand slipping. "Cristiano, some would say that's deflection, moving the conversation from physical decline to tactical intelligence, but fans want to see the Ronaldo of old, the one who sprinted down the wing, left defenders gasping, scored from impossible angles." Ronaldo leaned forward now, his face filling the screen, his eyes burned with intensity. "Fans want to see a player who gives everything, every time. I've evolved because the game evolves. If you want the player of 2008, go watch highlights. If you want the player who still scores, still wins, still inspires, watch me now." The studio fell silent. For the first time, Alex seemed genuinely outmaneuvered. This wasn't just a footballer defending his legacy, this was a masterclass in owning the narrative. Ronaldo smiled, but it wasn't arrogance, it was conviction. "Let me ask you something, Alex. When was the last time you did something for 2 decades at the highest level, with millions judging your every move?" Alex swallowed hard. "That's not quite the same, but it is," Ronaldo interrupted gently but firmly. "Pressure is pressure, and I don't run from it. I never have. The producers signaled that they were going to break for commercial, but no one in the studio moved. No one dared interrupt what had become more than an interview. It was live theater, unscripted and electrifying. The commercial break never came. Producers realized that cutting away now would be a disaster. Millions were tuned in, watching this verbal duel unfold, and the last thing they wanted was to interrupt the moment. Alex took a breath, trying to regain composure, but there was a shift in the air. For the first time, it felt as though he wasn't the one steering the conversation. Ronaldo was, and the viewers knew it. Cristiano, Alex began again, softer now but still trying to find an angle. I think what people struggle with is the image of a man who's won it all, still hungry, still fighting. Some feel it's ego that keeps you going, that perhaps it's time to let go, to make space for the next generation. Ronaldo's eyes narrowed slightly, but his tone remained calm, deliberate. Do you know what's funny, Alex? Every generation says that about those who came before them. When I was 18, breaking into Sporting's first team, people said the same about older players. When I arrived at Manchester United, they said it about the veterans. I respected them, I learned from them, and I earned my place. That's football. He paused, letting his words settle, then continued. It's easy to talk about making space, but I didn't get here by someone handing me space. I fought for it, I earned it, and if a younger player wants my place, let him earn it. That's competition. That's sport. The comments section on the live stream was a blaze of activity. Ronaldo schooling the media again. This is why he's the GOAT. Alex looks like he's aged 5 years in 10 minutes. Alex felt the pressure but pressed on. But don't you think that sometimes the presence of a legend can overshadow young talent, that they don't grow because they're in your shadow? Cristiano leaned back slightly, his confidence unshaken. And if that's true, then it's on them to step out of the shadow, isn't it? I've played alongside young stars, Rashford, Vinicius Jr., João Felix. I encourage them, I guide them, but I don't apologize for being who I am. My job isn't to dim my own light so that others can shine. My job is to shine as brightly as I can and inspire them to do the same. Alex's fingers tapped nervously on the desk. The control room fed him notes, desperate to help him shift the dynamic. But the damage had been done. Ronaldo wasn't just defending himself, he was rewriting the narrative in real time. The host tried once more. Okay, Cristiano, let's shift focus slightly. Some critics say that at this stage in your career, it's more about personal brand than team success. That the media attention, the sponsorships, the social media presence, it's distracting. That it's no longer about the love of the game. Ronaldo's smile returned, not one of amusement, but of someone who knew exactly where he was taking this conversation. Alex, do you think I need sponsorships? Do you think I need Instagram followers to feel validated? I could retire tomorrow, and my legacy would be intact. But I play because I love football. I love the sound of the ball hitting the net. I love hearing the crowd, feeling the energy of a stadium. The rest, the cameras, the contracts, the fame, that's noise. The game is pure, and that's why I'm still here. There was an authenticity in his voice that no amount of preparation could have faked. The audience felt it. The chat exploded again, filled with praise, admiration, and sheer awe at Ronaldo's composure. Alex realized it too. He leaned back, letting out a small sigh, almost as if conceding that this wasn't the interview he'd imagined. Cristiano, I have to say, I didn't expect this level of honesty. Most players dodge these questions. Cristiano nodded respectfully. Because most players are afraid that no matter what they say, it will be twisted into a headline that suits the story someone wants to tell. I'm not afraid. I've been in this spotlight too long to play those games. I respect you, Alex. I respect your work. But tonight, the story is mine to tell. The studio was silent again. No one moved. The tension wasn't combative anymore. It was the tension of witnessing something rare, a superstar speaking from the heart, unfiltered, unwavering. I've made mistakes, Ronaldo added, his voice softening slightly. I've had bad games, bad seasons. I've missed penalties. I've let people down, but I've also given everything I have, every time I step on that pitch. And as long as I can do that, as long as I can give something to the game, I'll keep going. Alex swallowed hard, nodding. I think we're seeing a side of you people don't always get to see. Cristiano's eyes glinted with determination. Maybe because too often, people are looking for flaws, not truth. The producers flashed the wrap-up signal, but Alex ignored it. He wasn't going to cut this short. Not now. Cristiano, he said, voice steadier now. What do you want your legacy to be? When all of this is over, what do you want people to remember? Ronaldo thought for a moment, and when he spoke it was quieter, more reflective, but no less powerful. That I played with passion, that I inspired, that I never gave up, no matter what people said, and that I loved the game. The screen held his image for a beat longer than necessary, before the show cut to black. As the broadcast returned from a brief station identification break, millions remained glued to their screens. The producers had debated whether to steer the conversation elsewhere or introduce a lighter segment, but they realized the gravity of what was unfolding. This wasn't just an interview anymore, it had become a masterclass in grace under fire, delivered by one of the most famous athletes on the planet. Alex adjusted his tie, visibly rattled yet strangely relieved. The combative tone had shifted. He wasn't facing a defensive legend anymore. He was facing a man who had turned the entire encounter into an unexpected moment of reflection, inspiration, and truth. Cristiano, Alex began again, his voice gentler now, the tension in the room transformed into awe. What do you think people misunderstand about you the most? Ronaldo took a breath, as if considering not just the question, but the millions who were waiting to hear the answer. His gaze softened, but his words carried the same clarity and precision that had defined the entire exchange. That I don't care, he said. People see the trophies, the records, the celebrations, and they think, he's invincible, he's cold, he's above it all. But I care deeply. I care about every goal I miss, every game we lose, every teammate who struggles. I care about the fans, about the kids who wear my jersey and dream because of me, and when I fail, I feel it. Just like everyone else. Alex leaned forward, captivated along with the audience. But you hide it well. How do you manage that pressure? Cristiano gave a slight smile. By remembering that this is a privilege, to play this game, to have these opportunities, to represent my country, my clubs, it's a gift, and gifts deserve gratitude. That's how I face the pressure. I don't run from it, I embrace it. The comments section exploded with praise. Viewers who had tuned in expecting drama were instead treated to raw authenticity. This is why he's the best, not just on the pitch, but off it too. Ronaldo, role model. I'm showing this to my son. Alex, sensing the shift, ventured another question, not to trap. When you think about everything you've achieved, is there anything you regret? For the first time that night, Ronaldo hesitated. Not because he was searching for a polished answer, but because he was being honest with himself in that moment. I regret the moments I let frustration get the better of me, he said quietly. The times I could have lifted up a teammate instead of shouting. The times I could have been a better example. We all have those moments, but regret is only useful if you learn from it. And I have. Alex nodded, genuinely moved. The millions watching could sense the sincerity. There was no arrogance here, no carefully rehearsed PR soundbite, just a man owning his journey, the highs and the lows. Cristiano, Alex continued, what would you say to the young players watching tonight, the ones dreaming of one day standing where you are? Ronaldo's eyes lit up. This was a question he loved to answer. I would tell them, don't dream of being me, dream of being you, the best version of you. Take inspiration from others, sure, learn, but never forget that your journey is yours alone, and it will be hard, you will fail, you will be doubted, but keep going, because that's where greatness lives, in persistence. The words resonated beyond the studio walls. Social media timelines filled with clips, quotes and reactions. Even seasoned sports journalists tweeted their admiration, acknowledging that they had witnessed something extraordinary. Alex, perhaps sensing that the night had given viewers something far more valuable than controversy, smiled. Cristiano, I think tonight you've given us all something to think about. Cristiano returned the smile, his demeanor as composed as ever. I hope so, because at the end of the day, it's not about headlines, it's about heart. And just like that, the power dynamic that had once been tilted in the host's favor was completely reversed. The interview had started as an attempt to challenge a football icon, to perhaps provoke a reaction or create viral moments, but it had ended with that icon teaching a lesson in humility, resilience, and passion. The producers finally signaled the end of the segment, though they did so reluctantly, knowing they had captured lightning in a bottle. As the cameras faded out, Alex extended his hand. Thank you for this, Cristiano. Ronaldo shook it firmly. Thank you for the questions. The show cut to a commercial, but the conversation, and its impact, was just beginning. Around the world, parents, coaches, young athletes, and even casual fans were already sharing the broadcast, quoting its most powerful moments, and discussing the deeper truths that had emerged from what was supposed to be a routine television interview. As the show returned from its final commercial break, there was a noticeable change in the studio's atmosphere. The tension that had once filled the space had been replaced by something else: admiration, even reverence. The viewers could feel it, the producers could sense it, and most importantly, Alex could no longer deny it. The interview had slipped from his grasp. What had begun as a chance to challenge, to corner, to perhaps expose cracks in Cristiano Ronaldo's image, had turned into an unplanned masterclass in humility, wisdom, and emotional intelligence. But Alex, bound by the instinct of a seasoned broadcaster, tried one last time to steer the narrative back to his domain. He leaned in, his voice slightly lower, as if trying to reclaim authority through intimacy. Cristiano, some critics argue that you've always been about image, that the charity work, the kind gestures, they're calculated, that deep down it's always been about brand Ronaldo. What do you say to that? The question hung in the air like a challenge, a final attempt to disrupt the composure that had defined Ronaldo throughout the evening. Cristiano didn't hesitate. His response was calm, yet delivered with a quiet force that made it impossible to misinterpret his sincerity. Do you know what I think about when I visit a children's hospital? Or when I fund schools, or give to communities in need? He began, his eyes locked onto Alex's. I don't think about cameras. I don't think about headlines. I think about my father, about how hard life was for us. I think about the promises I made to myself when I was a boy, that if I ever had the chance, I'd help others have a better path. That has nothing to do with image. That has everything to do with gratitude. The room fell silent. The control room, usually buzzing with chatter during broadcasts, was still. Every producer, every technician, every intern stared at their monitors, fully absorbed. Cristiano leaned forward slightly, his tone softer now, but even more compelling. People will always have opinions, that's their right, but I know why I do what I do, and I sleep peacefully because of that. Alex opened his mouth to respond, but no words came. The usual arsenal of follow-up questions, provocative remarks, or witty comebacks deserted him. He simply nodded, his expression betraying a mixture of respect and defeat. The live chat on the network's streaming platform was flooded with praise. That's class personified. Ronaldo just schooled him again. This isn't an interview anymore, it's a life lesson. Seizing the moment, Alex shifted to a more neutral, even conciliatory tone. You've talked a lot about gratitude tonight, Cristiano. What do you think fans owe to players like yourself? Cristiano's answer came without a pause. Nothing. Fans owe us nothing. We owe them. Every match, every training session, every appearance. It's a chance to give back to the people who support us. I am where I am because of them. I never forget that. It was subtle, but clear. With each response, Cristiano wasn't just answering questions, he was dismantling the very premise behind them. There was no arrogance in his tone, only conviction. Alex, now visibly humbled, tried to salvage some semblance of control. Well, Cristiano, I think tonight you've surprised a lot of people, maybe even me. Cristiano smiled, not in triumph but in genuine warmth. That's good, because sometimes we all need reminding that what we see on the outside is never the full story. The studio's social media team, initially prepared to clip sensational soundbites, found themselves instead compiling moments of heartfelt wisdom. Hashtags like Cristiano Masterclass and Ronaldo Live began trending across platforms. The segment was drawing to a close, but nobody, not Alex, not the viewers, not even the crew, wanted it to end. Alex glanced at the producer's countdown, realizing his time was nearly up. But rather than pushing for one last gotcha moment, he asked the question that was on everyone's mind. What's next for you, Cristiano? What's the legacy you hope to leave behind? Cristiano took a deep breath. His answer, like the man himself, was direct and powerful. My legacy isn't about goals or trophies or records. Those will fade. My legacy, I hope, will be that I inspired people to work hard, to believe in themselves, to help others. If I can do that, I'll have done my job. The camera stayed on him a beat longer than usual, capturing the sincerity in his eyes. The closing credits began to roll, but the impact of the interview lingered. Viewers around the world reflected on what they had witnessed. What started as an attempt to challenge and perhaps diminish a legend had ended with that legend reminding everyone, including the host, of the values that truly matter. And as the studio lights dimmed and the final words echoed in the ears of millions, it was clear, Cristiano Ronaldo had done far more than answer questions. He had elevated the entire conversation. As the show's closing music began to fade, the producer's voice crackled softly in Alex's earpiece. Wrap it up. We're out of time. But Alex hesitated. He glanced at Cristiano, a man who had not only held his ground, but had gracefully taken control of the entire segment. The usual dynamics of host and guest had reversed, and Alex knew it, the audience knew it, the world knew it. The chat feed continued to explode. Legend, that's why he's the GOAT. Spiker tried, but Ronaldo owned this. Trying to reclaim some sense of closure, Alex offered a final question, his tone no longer challenging, but curious. Cristiano, tonight has been eye-opening. You've spoken about gratitude, legacy, responsibility, but tell me what keeps you awake at night, what's your greatest fear? Cristiano smiled softly, the question seemingly one he had reflected on before. He leaned forward slightly, his voice lowering just enough that it felt as though he was speaking directly to each individual watching. My greatest fear? That I don't use what I've been given, the platform, the success, the opportunities, to make a real difference. That one day, I'll look back and feel I could have done more for others. That I didn't live up to the blessing I received. The honesty in his voice was undeniable. No script, no rehearsed lines, just truth. Alex found himself nodding, caught off guard by the raw humanity of the answer. He cleared his throat. Cristiano, I think I speak for everyone watching tonight when I say you've more than done that. Cristiano shook his head humbly. Thank you, but I'm still trying. Every day, the producer signaled urgently, but Alex ignored it for just a few more moments. This was no longer about broadcast schedules or show formats. It was about capturing a rare moment of authenticity. The camera slowly zoomed in on Cristiano as he offered his final words to the audience. I hope everyone watching tonight remembers, we all have something to give. It doesn't have to be money or fame. Kindness, time, support, those things change lives. And in the end, that's what matters. The screen cut to black for a beat before the credits rolled. But even as the show ended, the conversation had only just begun. Social media platforms were flooded with clips from the interview. Commentators praised the humility and wisdom Cristiano had shown. What was meant to be a standard interview had become a cultural moment, a reminder of the values often overshadowed by fame and competition. In newsrooms across the world, journalists abandoned their planned headlines. Instead of Ronaldo faces tough questions, articles began with Cristiano Ronaldo inspires millions in live interview, or when the guest became the teacher, Ronaldo's live masterclass. In the days that followed, the impact of the interview continued to ripple outward. Schools discussed it in classrooms, coaches replayed clips for their young athletes, even rival players took to social media to express their respect. And as for Alex, he walked off that set with a mixture of humility and awe. He had tried to challenge a legend, but in doing so, he had learned from him, as had everyone else who tuned in. That night wasn't about a spiker cornering a superstar. It was about a superstar reminding the world why he was so much more than that title. It was about resilience, integrity, and the power of using your voice for good. Cristiano Ronaldo had done more than win the interview. He had, in those final minutes, reminded millions what true greatness looks like, and in doing so, he left a mark no one would forget.